Hey, welcome back to Visions Now, Supper Club. All views expressed for their educational and journalistic purposes, they're not the views. The management, advertisers, and staff of 92.1 FM. However, Visions does desire to bring a quality entertainment program which intellectually stimulates and culturally fulfills our community's needs to develop leadership and informed decision-making for our collective future. Welcome to the village. Often imitated, but never duplicated. I'm Dr. Shailene Hood, your host and executive producer. Welcome.
Who have spent much time here in Harlem posing as peace officers and at the same time breaking up the peace of black people. So we hope that they will be peaceful and we will be peaceful. We are here to tell you to love the white man. You have come to the wrong place. And those of you who think that you perhaps came here to hear us tell you to turn the other cheek to the brutality of the white man, I say again, you came to the wrong place. But no matter what happens, we don't teach you to turn the other cheek. We don't teach you to turn the other cheek in the South, and we don't teach you to turn the other cheek in the North. We teach you to obey the law. We teach you to carry yourselves in a respectable way. But at the same time, we teach you that anyone who puts his hand on you, do your best to see that he doesn't put it on anybody else.
You don't have any votes for airplanes bringing drugs into this country. The white man brings it in. The white man brings it to Harlem. The white man makes you a drug addict. The white man then puts you in jail when he catches you using drugs. Who is it that controls the prostitution in Harlem? It's the white man. Who controls the large sale of whiskey and wine? It's the white man. You don't have any distillery. You don't own Shenley's. You don't own Old Overholt or Seagram. You don't put the seal on that bottle of whiskey. It's
to obey the law, to respect everyone who respects us. We're taught to display courtesy, to be polite. But we're also taught that at any time, anyone in any way inflicts or seeks to inflict violence upon us, we are within our religious rights to retaliate in self-defense to the maximum degree of our ability. The charge of violence against us actually stems from the guilt complex that exists in the conscious and subconscious minds of most white people in this country. They know that they've been violent in their brutality against Negroes, and they feel that someday the Negro is going to wake up and try and do unto them as they have done do unto the whites as the whites have done unto us. The Muslims who have accepted the religion of Islam and follow the religious guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have never bombed any churches, have never murdered any little girls, as was done in Birmingham, have never lynched anybody, have never at any time been guilty of initiating any aggressive acts of violence during the entire 33 years or more that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching us. We never initiate any violence upon anyone, but if anyone attacks us, we reserve the right to defend ourselves. So to accuse us of being violent is like accusing a man who is being lynched, who is being hung on a tree, simply because he struggles vigorously against his lyncher. The victim is accused of violence, but the lyncher is never accused of violence. And I only point this out because the various racist groups that are set up in this country by whites and who have actually practiced violence against blacks for 400 years are never associated or identified or made synonymous with the term violence. But whites speak of Muslims almost synonymously with violence. Whenever Muslims are mentioned by them, violence is brought up, but it's not connected with any other group. This is a sort of a propaganda tactic, or what I would call psychological warfare, to in some way make the image of the Muslims in this country be a violent image rather than a religious image. I think you'll find, sir, that there will come a time when black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
You say then that the United States is not the black man's country.
Definitely
American laws are not black man's laws.
No. So
American laws are not the black man's laws.
Well, the laws here in America were made by white people for the benefit of white people. The Constitution was written by whites for the benefit of whites. It was never written for the benefit of blacks. And when you read the Constitution, I think in Article 1, Section 2, or Section 1, Article 1, some one of the two, and it's in the Constitution. It says that it classifies black people as 3/5 of a man. 3/5 of a man, subhuman, less than a human being. It relegates us to the level of cattle, hogs, chickens, cows, a commodity that could be bought and sold at the will of the master. No, it was written by whites for the benefit of whites and to the detriment of blacks. And when a black man stands up talking about his constitutional rights, he's out of his mind. If the white people really passed meaningful laws, it would not be necessary to pass any more laws. There are already enough laws on the law books to protect an American citizen. You only need additional laws when you're dealing with someone who is not regarded as an American citizen. But whites are so hypocritical. They don't want to admit that this black man is not a citizen. So they classify him as a second-class citizen to get around making him a real citizen. If he was a real citizen, you'd need no more laws. You'd need no civil rights legislation. Civil rights, when you have civil rights, you have citizenship. It's automatic. White people don't need laws to protect their citizenship because they're citizens. But they don't want to tell us we're not citizens. And at the same time, they don't want to pass laws that are meaningful enough to protect us as if we were citizens. And the Supreme Court desegregation decision is the best example I know. That's a law from the Supreme Court. 10 years have gone by. No desegregated schools. It hasn't been implemented beyond, I think, 9% in 10 years. So this just shows you the hypocrisy of the American white man. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. And for this reason, we who are Muslims, that is, who believe in the religion of Islam, who believe in God, we don't believe that black people will ever get any laws, get any problem with laws being passed or new persons being put in office, white liberals being put in office. There is nothing that the white man will ever do to bring about true, sincere citizenship or civil rights recognition for black people in this country. Nothing will they ever do. They will always talk it, but they won't practice it. And with the Supreme Court, if the NAACP can tell me that they want a desegregation decision for me 10 years ago, but yet the schools haven't been desegregated, as I say, this is a victory with no victory. It's a victory that you can talk about, but it's a victory you can't show me. So if you represent the NAACP and you're telling me about this great victory you won for me, when I look at you, I have to conclude that either you have been duped yourself or else you are trying to dupe me. And in most instances where the civil rights struggle is involved, there is no civil rights leader can point to me one concrete gain, practical gain, that black people have made in the civil rights field in this country, not only during the past 10 years, but during the past 100 years.
The leaders themselves never intended and never do intend for our people to go too far. Their primary purpose in our midst has always been to contain our struggle, not lead our struggle.
For 8 weeks in Los Angeles, 14 so-called Negroes set on trial, charged by the police with assault, charged by the police with intent to commit murder. You haven't read anything about it in the paper. You haven't seen anything about it and heard anything about it from these blue-eyed white so-called liberals. They quieted it down. They hushed it up. And none of the Negro leaders opened up their mouths during the trial. They were silent while they had a rally of 35,000 Negroes.
I'd like at this time to call forth these brothers who were arrested. The brothers who were arrested, come up here behind these chairs, please. The officer made one stay at the rear of the car and the other go to the front of the car. And while he was taking the one to the front of the car, the polite attitude, the humble air, the submissive, intelligent, peaceful spirit that he unexpectedly found in this Negro infuriated him. And he began to, he told the brother, put down your hands. Brother was talking, he's not a criminal. A man has a right on the sidewalk to talk with his hands. Put down your hand, don't talk with your hands. And when the brother continued to gesture with his hands, the officer grabbed his hand, twisted it around behind his back, flung him up against the car, and then that's when hell broke loose. That was when hell broke loose. A struggle ensued. Shots were fired by the police and by a Negro door shaker. An alarm went out. When the alarm went out, instead of the police going to the place where the incident occurred, the police went 1 block away to the temple. When they arrived there, they got out of their cars with their guns smoking. You would have thought it was Wyatt, what his name? Wyatt Earp. I'm telling you, they came out of those cars and we have enough witnesses to hang them with their guns smoking. Chief Parker knows this, Mayor Yardy knows this, and every police official in the city knows that. They didn't fire no warning shots in the air.
They fired warning shots point blank at innocent, unarmed, defenseless Negroes. One of them who was being taken to jail in a police car. As the ambulance sirens were coming to the place, one of the policemen said to the other, "What are the ambulances rushing for?" "Nothing but some niggas." So he looked in and saw the Muslim brother sitting beside him, and he said, and he shut up. But after he got to the jail, the same officer that said this turned to the brother and said, "I hope that you didn't get offended by what I said back there under the heat of emotion, because one of my best friends are colored." This is what he said. That's his password. One of my best friends are colored. Brother Arthur here was shot 1/4 of an inch from his heart. Let me tell you something, and I'll tell you why you say we hate white people. We don't hate anybody. We love our own people so much they think we hate the ones who are inflicting injustice against them. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy. The controlled press, the white press, inflames the white public against Negroes. The police are able to use it to paint the Negro community as a criminal element. The police are able to use the press to make the white public think that 90% or 99% of the Negroes in the Negro community are criminals. And once the white public is convinced that most of the Negro community is a criminal element, then this automatically paves the way for the police to move into the Negro community, exercising Gestapo tactics, stopping any black man who is on the sidewalk, whether he is guilty or whether he is innocent, whether he is well-dressed or whether he is poorly dressed, whether he is educated or whether he is dumb, whether he's a Christian or whether he's a Muslim. As long as he is black and a member of the Negro community, the white public thinks that the white policeman is justified in going in there and trampling on that man's civil rights and on that man's human rights. When Mayor Yorty called for a government investigation of a religious group that has the highest moral standard of any group in the Negro community, Mayor Yorty was giving you an example of what Hitler did in Nazi Germany when he began to go on the rampage. Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America. When someone comes at you with a club, when someone comes at you with a rope, when someone comes at you with a gun, despite the fact that you've done nothing, he tells you, suffer peacefully. Pray for those who use you despitefully. Be long-suffering. And how long can you suffer after suffering for 400 years?
We are peaceful people. We're loving people. We love everybody who loves us. But we don't love anybody who doesn't love us. We're nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. But we are not nonviolent with anyone who is violent with us.
We recognize and respect American citizens as independent people, and we respect their laws which govern the nation. And is it true? We don't love any white man, but we respect his law. We obey his law. You won't find us pretending to love them. They're not worthy of our love. But we respect their law. We respect their flag. We respect their government. We don't believe in it, but we respect it. We respect authority. We respect those who have positions of authority. But that doesn't mean we have to love those people or like those people or trust those people. They are not worthy of our trust, and they are not worthy of our love, and they won't get our love.
Malcolm, some more controversial remarks was a call for black people to get rifles and form rifle clubs some time back. Do you still favor that for self-defense?
I don't see why that should be controversial. I think that if white people found themselves the victim of the same kind of brutality that black people in this country face, and they saw that the government was either unwilling or unable to protect them, that the intelligence on the part of the whites would make them get some rifles and shotguns and protect themselves. Now, Negroes are developing some kind of intellectual maturity too, and they can see that having waited upon the government to protect them has been a weight that has been in vain. So any of them who live in areas where the government is not able to do its job, then we do have to get together and do a job of protecting ourselves.
We want every black man and woman to have freedom. The freedom to accept or reject being separated from the slave master's children and establish a land of our own. And that's what he says. Give all of us freedom of choice. First, give every one of the 20 million black people in this country an opportunity to hear the truth. Let them be taught the truth about the white man and the truth about the black man. Let them be taught the truth about God and the truth about the devil. Let them be taught the truth about heaven and the truth about hell. And once they know the truth, then give them a chance to make a decision. But don't take this poor, dumb, deaf, and blind, ignorant, brainwashed, so-called Negro and ask him what he wants. He doesn't know what he wants. And because he doesn't know what he wants, he tries to integrate with a blue-eyed wolf. Don't you know anytime you see some sheep trying to integrate with wolves, those sheep are sick. Those sheep are out of their mind. And a sheep got more chance with a wolf than you got integrated with a white man. Why, a wolf can't be as hot on a sheep as the white man has been on you here in America.
I'd like to ask a question in that regard. What's interesting is that members of the Nation of Islam have not used violence even when black Americans were attacked. How do you account for this? Does this in any way contradict some of the basic premises of your movement?
I don't know how you mean.
Well, you maintain, for example, that you will not, or that you should not use violence unless you are attacked by the white man. And I think we can note in the last several years, certainly, dozens and dozens and dozens of instances in which Negroes have been attacked, killed in some instances.
I mean in these demonstrations?
These demonstrations and the bombings, for example, recently in Birmingham where they killed 4 little Negro girls. And what interests me is the fact is that the Nation of Islam has not done anything to retaliate.
I think you should be happy.
The important thing is, does your lack of action contradict any of your basic principles?
I'll explain it. You should be happy that Muslims who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, number one, don't believe in any form of integration, and who believe that every mention of the word integration by whites, whether it be from the mouth of Kennedy on down to the mouth of the lowest, raggediest white liberal in the street who is beatnik-like involving himself in these integration efforts, if we believed in it, we would integrate, and we would fight anybody who got in our way or made any effort whatsoever to stop us from integrating. If we really believe that the law of the land, the Supreme Court, and other so-called judicial bodies were for real when they talked about integration, we would integrate. And knowing that the law was on our side, and any effort we made to demonstrate toward integration, why, we would know the law should be on our side, if it's the law of the land. If it is the law of the land, then the demonstrators are within the law, and the discriminators are against the law. But to show you the hypocrisy of the law, when Negroes demonstrate for integration, instead of arresting the discriminators, the law arrests the demonstrators. So this is a foolish move on the part of Negroes. And when you foolishly get yourself involved with an enemy, then whatever comes upon you, that's your business. As Muslims, we believe that separation is the best way and the only sensible way, not integration. And but on the other hand, when we see our people being brutalized by white bigots, white racists, we think that they are foolish to allow themselves to be beaten and brutalized and do nothing whatsoever to protect themselves. They are foolish. They should have the right to defend themselves against any attack made against them by anyone. If a dog is biting a black man, the black man should kill the dog. Whether the dog is a police dog, a hound dog, or any kind of dog. If a dog is sick on a black man, when that black man is doing nothing but trying to take advantage of what the government says is supposed to be his, then that black man should kill that dog or any two-legged dog who sicks the dog on him.
I have no argument with Dr. Martin Luther King. He's doing the best he knows how. But what he's doing is out of style. It's out of date. And anybody who teaches Negroes today to turn the other cheek is actually committing a crime.
When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever is necessary to get that criminal off my back. And the injustice that has been inflicted upon Negroes in this country by Uncle Sam is criminal. Don't blame a cracker in Georgia for your injustices. The government is responsible for the injustices. The government can bring these injustices to halt.
I'm one of 22 million black people in this country who is absolutely impatient and disenchanted and fed up when I have to look at the television every night and see police dogs biting our people, or see policemen clubbing our people, or see our women and our children being washed down the sewer with fire hoses, simply because they want to exercise their rights in a society which says that they are citizens.
We want an immediate end to the police brutality and mob attacks against the so-called Negroes throughout the United States. We believe that the federal government should intercede to see that black men and women tried in white courts receive justice in accordance with the law of the land, or allow us to build a new nation for ourselves, dedicated to justice, freedom, and liberty. We do not believe that after 400 years of free labor, sweat, and blood, which has helped America become rich and powerful, that so many thousands of black people should have to exist on relief, charity, or live in poorhouses. We want the government of the United States to exempt our people from all taxation, as long as we are deprived of equal justice under the laws of the land. And this is a fact. Why should you be taxed when you don't get anything in return? How can you be charged the same tax as the white man when you don't enjoy the same rights as the white man, or the same citizenship as the white man, or the same protection by the law as the white man? What do you look like riding in the coach on the train, second class, and paying full Pullman fare, while the conductor is out of his mind to make you pay as much as in the coach as they're paying in the collar car? So if you don't pay first class passage for a second class seat, you have no business in a government as a second class citizen paying first class taxes.
And when Mr. Muhammad says separate from the white man, you tell the public that he's teaching hate. Now, Martin Luther King says love the white man and integrate with him, and the white man six dogs on Martin Luther King. So what you find out here is the hypocrisy of the white. If you draw away from him, he'll accuse you of hate, and if you jump up to him, he'll accuse you of trying to get close to him too soon, and he puts his dogs on you. If the black man lays on his side, he's wrong. If the black man lays on his back, he's wrong. If the black man stands up, he's wrong. So the only thing in face of all that the black man can do is get away from the white man.
You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. Hold the line higher. And the house Negro always looked out for his master. When the field Negro got too much out of line, he held them back in check. He put them back on the plantation.
I learned slavery when black people like me
Talking to the slaves. They didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said.
The house Negro could afford to do that because he lived better than the field Negro.
He ate better, he dressed better, and he lived in a better house. He lived right up next to his master in the attic or the basement. He ate the same food his master ate and wore his same clothes. And he could talk just like his master. Good diction. And he loved his master more than his master loved himself. That's why he didn't want his master hurt. If the master got sick, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" He was When the master's house caught fire, he'd try and put the fire out. He didn't want his master's house burned. He never wanted his master's property threatened. And he was more defensive of it than the master was. That was the house Negro. But then you had some field Negroes who lived in huts, had nothing to lose. They wore the worst kind of clothes. They ate the worst food. And they caught hell. They felt the sting of the lash. They hated their master. Oh, yes, they did. If the master got sick, they prayed that the master died. If the master's house caught fire, they prayed for a strong wind to come along. This was the difference between the two. And today you still have house Negroes and field Negroes. I'm a field Negro. If I can't live in the house as a human being, I'm praying for a wind to come along. If the master won't treat me right and he's sick, I'll tell the doctor to go in the other direction. But if all of us are going to live as human beings, as brothers, then I'm for a society of human beings that can practice brotherhood.
The offer of integration is hypocritical and is made by those who are trying to deceive the black people into believing that their 400-year-old open enemy of freedom, justice, and equality all of a sudden are their friends. Furthermore, we believe that such deception is intended to prevent black people from realizing that the time in history has arrived for the separation from the white people of this nation.
Mr. Muhammad states, "Up, you mighty race. You can accomplish what you will. Build your future on these foundations: freedom, justice, and equality." What is the definition of freedom, justice, and equality for the black man, and where and when is it to be attained?
Well, take equality first. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't teach us to associate equality with whites. Equality has nothing to do with whites. We don't want to be equal with the white man. He's not the criteria or yardstick by which equality is measured. He's not in a position to tell us we are equal. It's not his right. It's not his to do. Equality, we want equality. We had equality before the white man was created. We had equality before the white man came into existence. And we want equality whether the white man is on this earth or not. Equality means the opportunity to develop all of our dormant potential, all of our dormant capability. And in developing this dormant capability, the right and the ability to stand on this earth on some land of our own and bring about a civilization and a society in which we will be completely independent, complete freedom to take care of the needs, to take care of the wants and the likes and the dislikes of our people, to establish our own nation, our own society, our own heaven, our own future. This is what we mean by freedom, by equality. And justice means as you sow, so shall you reap. If you do wrong, you'll get wrong in return. And if you do right, you'll get right in return. When you're in your own nation, in your own land, you're in a position to get justice. But when you're in another man's country, in another man's land, under another man's flag, and under another man's government, and under another man's court system, you have to look to that other man for justice, and you'll never get it. And Negroes in this country probably are authorities on that.
Yeah. Let me return to the Nation of Islam per se, Minister, by raising a question which struck me as a result of reading some of Baldwin's work, namely The Fire Next Time. Baldwin pointed out that in Harlem for many years he had passed the street corners and the soapboxes and heard people speaking from these platforms who were known as black nationalists, and nobody was listening. And he said all of a sudden he realized that people were beginning to listen to the Muslim speakers on the street corners in Harlem. The message essentially was the same, but it was that now many people were listening to what this message was. And you pointed out that the Nation of Islam has been in the picture for about 33 years. What is it, in your judgment, that has caused this tremendous amount of support that the Nation of Islam has garnered in the Negro community in, say, the last 10 years?
When you put a seed in the soil, it remains beneath the soil until the season changes. And atmospheric conditions bring about a seasonal change that makes that seed come up or crop grow in its appointed time. And all over this world today, God himself has brought about political changes, a political atmosphere, sociological, social atmosphere, economic atmosphere. These economic conditions, these political conditions and social conditions combine to bring about a situation that is making black people in America more receptive, their mind more fertile to the seed of truth that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been planting for 30-some years. And this is springing up today and causing our people to see and understand now what they couldn't see and understand before.
What is the nature of this situation which is making black people more receptive?
Well, you take in the past, say, 15 years, how the nations have emerged, dark nations have emerged in Africa. Prior to 10 years ago, most Negroes identified Africa with a savage, jungle-like place. And whenever you mention the word African, in their mind's eye, they could see the image of someone running around with a spear, with no language, who'd say Ugga Bugga Boo or Bwana or something, and who'd be in a jungle running from lions or chasing lions. But then when, after the war, when the United Nations was set up in New York City, black people began to look at men like Tom Mboya. They began to look at men like Nkrumah. They began to see men like Lumumba. They began to see men like Nasser. They began to see these Belawa and Ezekwe, who could exchange intellectually with whites on an international level in a political form and hold their own. This made the black people in this country realize that what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been teaching all the time actually had substance. And they began to turn it over in their mind and see that what he was saying had more to it than what these other Negroes were saying. And they began to identify themselves with the black world and the black struggle more closely than they identified themselves with this so-called white world.
The black Muslim movement attracted the most militant young black people in this country. They're the most restless, the most impatient, and the most uncompromising. Black men and women were attracted to the black Muslim movement. But the movement itself, as it began to grow, actually was maneuvered into a vacuum. The government in Washington, I guess that's where it is, tried to label the black Muslim movement as political. It used the press, it maneuvered the press to project the black Muslim movement in an image that would enable the government itself to list it as political and therefore label it seditious and subversive and step in and stomp it out like it stomps out most bona fide freedom movements that appear in this country. It became a political hybrid in that it was more political than religious, but at the same time it didn't take part in politics. It didn't take part in the civil rights struggle. It took part in nothing that black people in this country was doing to correct conditions that existed in our community, other than it had a moral force, that it stopped our people from getting drunk and taking drugs and things of that sort, which is not enough. After you sober up, you're still poor. The main objective of the movement was land. But those in the movement were told that God would come and take them to that land. Well, for a time this was all right, but no visible means were ever detected by anyone in the movement that would enable us to see that a plan was afoot to make this objective materialize. It caused dissatisfaction. It caused dissension, which eventually developed division. We realized that we were black people in a white society. that we were black people in a racist society. We were black people in a society whose very political system was based and nourished upon racism, whose social system was a racist system, whose economic system was nourished with racism. We were black people who wanted to be religious, who wanted to practice brotherhood and all of that, who wanted to love everybody and all of that too. But at the same time, that was a dream, you know, as my good friend, the doctor, said.
And sisters and brothers, I have a dream today.
So wanting brotherhood and wanting peace and wanting all these other beautiful things, we had to also face reality and realize that we were in a racist society that was controlled by racists from the federal government right on down to the local government, from the White House right on down to City Hall. Racism was what we were confronted by. So we knew that this was a problem that was beyond religion, and we formed another organization that was non-religious. And this organization was called the Organization of Afro-American Unity, or the OAAU. And we got the idea for it from travels and observation of the success that our brothers on the African continent were having in their struggle for freedom.
It has been a well-known fact, though only in the form of rumor, that there has been a great deal of apprehension at my being out of the Black Muslim movement on the part of the Black Muslims themselves. And I had stated in a newspaper article about an effort to take my life back in January, and at that time the Muslims denied it. In fact, they tried to make it appear to my brother that I was insane. But on a program in Chicago called Hotline, was moderated by Wesley South, John Ali, the national secretary, admitted, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, one of these days last week, that they absolutely were going to kill me.
Why are they threatening your life?
Well, primarily because they're afraid that I will tell the real reason that that I'm out of the Black Muslim movement, which I never told. I kept to myself. But the real reason is that Elijah Muhammad, the head of the movement, is the father of 8 children by 6 different teenage girls, 6 different teenage girls who were his private personal secretary. 4 of them had 1 child apiece by him. 2 of them had 2 children, and one of those 2 is pregnant right now in Los Angeles with his 3rd child. And the one who first made me aware of this was Wallace Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad's son. And it was their fear that if I remained in the Black Muslim movement and this came into the knowledge of his followers, that they would leave him and follow me. So a plan immediately was set in motion to take me down, put me out, and the statement that I allegedly made, or not that I allegedly made, I did make it, the statement that I made about Kennedy was used as a pretext to take me down. But in reality, it was because I had come to New York and told Joseph, the captain in New York, and the secretary and the minister in Boston about these children that Mr. Muhammad had. And it was that right there was the real reason for my being out of the movement.
I'm a believer in the Honorable Elijah and follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm still a Muslim. My religion is Islam. I run into some obstacles in the nation of Islam, and I feel that I can best serve the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's purpose and program and carry into existence what I feel, I understand, concerning his objectives better on the outside than I can on the inside. And now that I have the independence of action, it's my intention to work with everybody or against everybody, whatever the case may be, to try and get some kind of immediate solution to the problems that are confronting our people. I still believe the best thing for us to do is go back home to Africa. But while we're getting ready to go back, we've got to eat now, we've got to sleep now, we have to have some clothes now, our children have to go to school, and we need someplace to work. So whatever kind of action program can be devised to get us the things that are ours by right, then I'm for that kind of action no matter what the action is.
Today I'm speaking for myself. Formerly I spoke for Elijah Muhammad. And everything I said was, Elijah Muhammad teaches us thus and so.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a religious man, and his teaching is religious, and his solutions are religious.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the black man is the original man.
The black man, by nature, is divine.
Now, does this mean that the white man by nature is evil?
By nature, he is other than divine.
Well, now, does this mean that he's evil? Can he do good?
By nature, he is evil. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't teach us to associate equality with whites. Equality has nothing to do with whites. We don't want to be equal with the white man. Muslims who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, number one, don't believe in any form of integration.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the hour or the time is running out right now. And America is facing judgment, just like Egypt was judged for enslaving the Hebrews and Babylon was judged for enslaving the Hebrews. And because they refused to let the Hebrews go along with Moses, God destroyed them. This was the judgment day in their day. Today, America is faced with the same thing. If she doesn't let us go with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad out of this country, then America will be destroyed just as surely as Egypt was destroyed and Babylon was destroyed. I'm speaking now from what I think, from what I have seen, from what I have analyzed, and the conclusions that I have reached. But I judge a man by his conscious behavior. I am not a racist. I don't subscribe to any of the tenets of racism.
Then there are good whites and good blacks and bad whites and blacks.
It's not a case of being good and bad, good or bad blacks and whites. It's a case of being good or bad human beings. I think you'll find that if Negroes ever have to resort to any kind of physical action to defend themselves, many white people will be on the side of Negroes. Many white people are fed up with what the Negroes suffered. And this is what I had to become aware of on my pilgrimage to Mecca. I could see then that there are many white people in this country who will side with the Negro in whatever he has to do to protect himself.
When I was on the pilgrimage, I had close contact with Muslims whose skin would in America be classified as white, and with Muslims who themselves would be classified as white in America. But these particular Muslims didn't call themselves white. They looked upon themselves as human beings, as part of the human family, and therefore they looked upon all other segments of the human family as part of that same family. Now, they had a different look or a different air or a different attitude than that which is reflected in the attitude of the man in America who calls himself white. So I said that if Islam had done that for them, perhaps if the white man in America would study Islam, perhaps they could do the same thing for him. So instead of legislation, in my opinion, it takes education. The whites have to be re-educated so that the racism that they have in their heart can be eliminated, and our people have to be re-educated so that we will know how to do something for ourselves instead of waiting for others to do it for us all the time.
Well, how will that re-education be brought about?
Well, just as in World War II, this country could use its news media to propagandize and make the whole American public love the Germans and the Japanese, rather love the Russians and the Chinese and hate the Germans and the Japanese. And then after the war, they changed it and made the American public love the Germans and love the Japanese, hate the Russians and hate the Chinese, which shows that they can make the American public love whom they will and hate whom they will. And that same process can be used to re-educate the American public and show white people how to love black people and show black people how to do something to stand on our own feet and solve our own problems. The black man doesn't have to be taught to love the white man. The white man has to be taught to love the black man.
Or at least, do you think the Civil Rights Bill, when it's passed, is a sign of better times for Negroes in this country?
No. As I said before, the legislation won't solve our problems. New York City has all of the laws. It has FEPC. And still there's job discrimination in this city. Laws doesn't solve, that type of law doesn't solve the problem. And it's the same with education. It's the same with the segregated educational system. It exists here the same as it exists in the South. Now, the law here is on the side of an integrated school system, but you still don't have an integrated school system.
What do you think of Senator Goldwater's stand on the Civil Rights Bill?
Well, he's probably being more honest than the other politicians are. Even though his stand is the wrong stand, and it's an unjust stand, still he's being more honest than the other white politicians are. I don't think that
in his heart, Lyndon B. Johnson's stand is any different from Goldwater's stand. Lyndon B. Johnson is taking a stand that is for political expediency. And it's the same with all of the so-called liberal element. It's political expediency, politics.
It's true, I'm a Muslim, and I believe in brotherhood. And I believe in the brotherhood of all men. But my religion doesn't make me a fool. My religion makes me be against all forms of racism. It keeps me from judging any man by the color of his skin. It teaches me to judge him by his deeds and his conscious behavior. And it teaches me to be for the rights of all human beings, but especially the Afro-American human beings. Because my religion is a natural religion, and the first law of nature is self-preservation.
The next thing you'll see here in America, and please don't blame it on me when you see it. You will see the same things that have taken place among other people on this earth whose condition was parallel to that of the 22 million Afro-Americans in this country. The time is on the side of the oppressed today. It's against the oppressor. And truth is on the side of the oppressed today. It's against the oppressor. You don't need anything else. So I would just like to say this in my conclusion. You'll see terrorism that will terrify you. And if you don't think you'll see it, you are trying to blind yourself to the historic development of everything that's taking place on this earth today. You'll see other things. Why will you see them? Because as soon as people realize that it's impossible for a chicken to produce a duck egg, even though they both belong to the same family of fowl, so-called fowl, a chicken just doesn't have it within its system to produce a duck egg. It can't do it. It can only produce according to what that particular system was constructed to produce. The system of this country cannot produce freedom for an Afro-American. It is impossible for this system, this economic system, this political system, this social system, this system, period. It is impossible for it, as it stands, to produce freedom right now for the black man in this country. It's impossible.
There's a worldwide revolution going on. It goes beyond Mississippi. It goes beyond Alabama. It goes beyond Harlem. What is it revolting against? The power structure. The American power structure? No. The French power structure? No. The English power structure? No. Then what power structure? An international Western power structure. I had gotten an invitation to visit Paris from the Afro-American community in Paris, which was sponsoring a rally in conjunction with the African community. When I got to Paris, the man said I couldn't come in. Some man, French man. They gave me no explanation other than to say, we have our orders. They wouldn't let me phone the American embassy, and they tried to imply that the American embassy was behind it, which I told them that I didn't know that France was a satellite of the United States. Well, this made them angry because they like to be independent, you know, or pretend to be independent. They were taking their orders from someone as high up in the French foreign ministry who did not want me to enter France. And there's a reason for it. I don't blame them. And I told them while I was there that maybe my plane got mixed up and I was in South Africa in the wrong country. I told them this couldn't be Paris, it must be Johannesburg. And they got red. And you know how they can get red. There's a large, increasing number of dark-skinned people
swelling the dark population of France and Britain, and it's giving them a great deal of cause for worry. No effort has been made to unite the Afro-American community or the American Negro community with the West Indian community, and then those two communities with the African community, and those communities with the Asian community. This has never been done. And this frightens many powers, many interests in this country. Many people in this country who want to see us the minority and who don't want to see us taking too militant or too uncompromising a stand are absolutely against the successful regrouping or organizing of any faction in this country whose thought and whose thinking pattern is international rather than national. I, for one, disassociate myself from the movement completely, and I dedicate myself to the organizing of black people into a group that are interested in doing things constructive, not for just one religious segment of the community, but for the entire black community.
One of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us.
Dear Holy Apostle, Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, to whom all praise is due, whom we forever thank for giving us the most honorable and humble Elijah Muhammad as our divine leader, teacher, and guide. I want to put what I'm going to say to you on this tape for two purposes. Number one, I want to really apologize to you for having let you down, for the mistakes that I've made, especially during the past year. I want to confess my fault, confess my wrong. I want to confess my weaknesses. I want you to know that thanks to Allah and you, I'm able to see myself better now. I'm able to see my weaknesses better now and my shortcomings better now. I do believe that in seeing them better, it may be possible for me to overcome them and become a better person. At least I am praying to Allah that this is the case. And above all else, I'm praying to Allah to put mercy and forgiveness in your heart. And if you weren't merciful nor forgiving toward me, I could well understand it. I've always known that Master W.D. Farad is Allah. I believe that Master W.D. Farad is Allah, and I believe that you are his messenger. I believe that your program is right, and I believe that your teachings are right, and that it was my belief in this that made me as successful as I was. Especially, it was my firm belief in this that enabled me to stand up in the face of all opposition on television, on radio, before colleges, and before people out in the street at mass rallies, and support your program and present your program and represent your program. It was my faith in it that enabled me to represent it.
J45.
10/10/15. And 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, Day of Atonement. You know, and I remember 20 years ago, I was fighting to come to DC and be a part of that Million Man March. I remember the 10-year anniversary as well. You know, one of the things I always admired about you, you know, even to this day, one of the things from your past that a lot of people that's attached to Minister Louis Farrakhan's legacy is your relationship, and you spoke about him earlier with Brother Malcolm. You know, and a lot of folks, I even asked folks today, what would you have me ask him if you had a chance to talk? And the majority of people ask about your relationship with the Brother Malcolm. And what's happened since. People don't really know what happened since his death and your relationship with his family. They didn't see the Mike Wallace interview. You know, they didn't know about you meeting with Betty Shabazz. Can you clarify what's your... Of course. Yeah.
Well, first, Brother Malcolm was my mentor. I've never met a more disciplined man. I was very fortunate to have him as my teacher. He was the greatest helper of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would have given my life to protect his life because of my deep love for Elijah Muhammad and his being his top student. Unfortunately, there would come a time when he would break ranks with the nation and break ranks with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad over an aspect of Mr. Muhammad's personal life. Before that happened, if you remember when John Kennedy was murdered, I don't know whether you know this, but Elijah Muhammad instructed all his ministers not to say anything about the assassination of President Kennedy. Brother Malcolm was speaking at the Manhattan Center, and he got through the lecture perfectly, but he had a question and answer period, and a man from the New York Times asked him a question concerning President Kennedy. And he made a statement that was true. It was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. However, he disobeyed the direction of the teacher. The next day, the newspapers said, Malcolm rejoices, in words, over the assassination of Kennedy. Now, we have many believers in prisons all over America under white Catholic gods. Persecution began because they loved Kennedy. Malcolm was exposing Kennedy, not telling lies, telling truth. But that violation of the instructions of his teacher caused the teacher to silence him. During that period of silence, I was invited to New York to speak on a particular Sunday as other ministers were coming in. And Malcolm came and met me and took me to his home on 2311 97th Street. And during the dinner, Betty brought the dinner in. Malcolm began to tell me about my teacher's personal life. And after he finished, he said, now, brother, I could get these sisters on the telephone and trick them and make them tell you that what I'm telling you is true. I said, no, brother, you don't have to do that. When he took me back to the airport, he said to me, brother, now I don't want you to tell anybody what I've told you. I said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I saw his shoulder jump. I went back to Boston. I couldn't sleep. Because sometimes when you learn information that you didn't know, that has a tendency to shake your faith some, it keeps you up. I could not sleep that night, and 5 o'clock the next morning, as that's our time for prayer, Brother Malcolm called me. He said, Brother Lewis, I want you to delay the letter that you were going to write to give me a chance to write a letter to explain what I said and why. I said, brother, it's going to take me some time to get my head together to write such a letter. So if you can get your letter off in that time, fine. I do not want to be put in between two powerful men. He said, well, there's only one powerful man. I said, I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that your relationship with me and mine with you and him would be troubled. Malcolm wrote his letter, and mine came after his letter, and he was summoned to Arizona to answer his teacher. Now, that was a very difficult period in the nation's life because most of you have girlfriends that you don't legitimize them as wives. I'm not talking to you personally, but most men have women on the side, but they don't accept the responsibility of procreation. Elijah Muhammad married these women. They produced for him children. Now, what you don't know, and you're going to have to face it, women are outnumbering men today from 7 to 11 to 1. And women today lose as a commodity because there's more than the demand. The demand is on the man because he's less, she's more in terms of numbers. So women are played. But one day, we're going to have to think over what polygamy is. It's not the best solution, but when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, went to war, many men lost their lives and left their wives and their children sometimes as orphans. So the Quran permitted the Muslim male to have up to 4 wives. Under that circumstance, Elijah Muhammad taught us against fornication and adultery. So naturally, if he is taking wives, all of us that follow him, that had girlfriends before we met him, it might trigger us to go back into fornication and adultery. I defended Elijah Muhammad. I did not defend Malcolm. I was angry with him because Elijah Muhammad took Brother Malcolm from prison. A brilliant man, potentially, but doing criminal things. And when Elijah Muhammad, when he became a follower of Elijah Muhammad and came out of prison, I know the NAACP wouldn't use him, nor would the Urban League, because Malcolm only had an 8th grade education. But after Elijah Muhammad taught him, that man became a giant. So it would seem to me that regardless to what you felt about your teacher, why would you try to destroy a movement that gave you life because your teacher disciplined you? And that's where we fell out.
Yeah. But those actions question his faith, all right?
Yes.
Okay.
And naturally, then, when your faith is shaken, you do what you think you should do. But most of the people don't know that Malcolm tried to get back into the nation before he was assassinated.
Right.
So why would he come back? If your faith was broken, why would you come back? It's because he realized the nation made Malcolm, and Malcolm helped to make the nation. And 1 year, 2 years outside of the nation, he was wandering, not quite sure where he wanted to go. He was a black nationalist, and then he became an Orthodox Muslim. We fell out. And I can't take.
And I hope that you're enjoying. We're having a special edition tonight of the life of Malcolm X, and of course the discussion about Malcolm X and the dynamics. Depending on what side of the pendulum you swing, some people understood the dynamics. Some people only understood the propaganda of the conflict. But of course, if you understand what's going on in Africa right now, with Ibrahim Traoré, there are things being said now, things being done now in order to bring about doubt because of the promise of the movement that he was a part of. So that is not anything new. And today I invited a dear brother and friend of mine who's also a scholar, and we're going to just have a candid discussion about that whole question of Malcolm X's relationship with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, etc. And so I'd like to, at this point, welcome Dr. Henry Carter. Again, dear brother, and I say to a great extent is that, I consider myself as being not a representative of the Nation of Islam, but I consider myself as being a citizen of the Nation of Islam till the day I die. And I think that and that is being a citizen. There are Hebrews who are citizens. There are Christians who are citizens. There are agnostics who are citizens. You have nationalists that are citizens. They understand that just as America has an identity, but within the American citizenship, you got transgender, you got all varieties of Christian and Jehovah's Witness. In other words, but some reason or another, Dr. Henry, when it comes to the Nation of Islam, which is a nation of peace, that somewhere or another, people seem to want to just use a different criteria for what a nation is, because we don't really understand a nation. And so that's kind of where I guess want to jump off eventually. But I wanted to just say assalamu alaikum to you, and thank you for taking our time tonight to, because I couldn't think of anyone else who I would want to have this type of discussion that kind of understands, the in and the out. Some people only understood the dynamics and still don't really understand the inner cavities of the nation. But you and I both have been in the inner circles of the nation. So therefore, we've had, as I mentioned to many people, I was blessed to be a mentee of Malcolm X's brother Wilfred and brother Filbert Shabazz, who were the ones that really taught Malcolm and brought him into the nation. Yes, and one of the things about it that, I went into the nation in Temple number 1, not mine, but Temple number 1, and I remember asking one of the questions, because again, I always consider myself as a Malcolmite, in terms of the early listen to the grassroots and other LPs at that time that we listened to that to Malcolm, and I used to listen to him every Sunday on the broadcast. And I asked his brothers, I said, like, why y'all still in the nation? And people saying that the nation was responsible. And of course, at that time, they went on and broke it down. Now, of course, since then, is all the stories come out that COINTELPRO, that it was a conspiracy, and we won't get into the politics of it. But the fact of the matter is that that the nation didn't have anything to do with it. And matter of fact, the nation saw Malcolm as a prodigal son. He wasn't no threat to the nation, but it's like anything, like your father would discipline you. And we talk about in the Bible, the prodigal son is that. And also, we also shared, I don't know if you had a chance to hear it, Dr. Henry, the letter that Malcolm wrote after all of the dynamics, when he was saying, Dad, I'm ready to come back home.
Yes.
But many times people don't know, they don't get that part. They just, we get into the other part, but we don't understand the dynamics. So I just kind of laid that out as a general framework. You can go whatever direction you would like to go in with it, but I just wanted to let people know, in all candor, I mean, where I stand in terms with the whole thing is that, I happen to have an inside view, and again, his brothers, as they told me, with Malcolm didn't listen to them either at a certain point. So therefore, it was, so therefore they understood the dynamics, because everybody was trying to rescue and save him, but there were other forces in his ear, in his ear that he was listening to that may or may not have understood that their naivety, that kind of set Malcolm in a position. Once you step outside the circle, then you become you're vulnerable when you step outside the family. And so therefore, when Malcolm got outside the family, nobody was there to protect him, support him. So again, I want to welcome you, and I just wanted to kind of lay that out because we didn't shy away from, sharing what Malcolm had to say about it and things of that sort. But we wanted to make sure we had a full circle as to, some people they hear one chapter, but they didn't get the last chapter and the conclusion of that book. And so that's why I'm just trying to kind of lay it out a little bit. But again, thank you for being with us today, and tell us a little bit about. And I'm sorry I missed the anniversary in West End Park this weekend. These days it's a little bit difficult, being a Lone Ranger coming up there that road like that, and so I just kind of stayed put. But my heart was certainly there at Malcolm X Festival.
Yes, sir. Wa alaikum assalam, Dr. Hud. It is always a pleasure to have the opportunity to be on a show with a scholar, a gentleman, a soldier as yourself. You are most definitely one of the most consistent servant leaders that I know in my life, my short 58 years. There are very few men who can come close to your commitment to the upliftment and the advancement of Black people. You are truly a change agent. Our dear brother Malcolm was and is a vessel in which the Creator used to give all of us guidance and direction. And sometimes when God uses us, he uses us in a way that may seem to be controversial, and it can be confusing to the one who is being used as the vessel, because that person begins to make moves that even defies who they believe that they are. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did I go there? But when God uses us, he rises us above who we are, and we become his vessel. And Brother Malcolm was that vessel. His whole life is an example of scripture. When we look at the scriptures in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, or if we look at even some of the Egyptian hieroglyphics, we would see that Malcolm's life is consistent with everyone who have made a profound impact in the spiritual realm. Malcolm was no different. And so his rise up from the ashes of society to become one of the pinnacle speakers in history, was an example to us in regards to his relationship in the Nation of Islam and the controversy surrounding his departure and the sadness of his assassination. Malcolm was most definitely a profound orator and a profound scholar in articulating the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He understood how to articulate to the least, the lost, and the left out in a language that they understood. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a very appreciative of Malcolm's service. And so he loved Malcolm like a biological son.
That's right.
And so that type of love is pure love. You know, that love that you have, that Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have, is a love that most of us aspire to have, even amongst our children that we
That's right.
were used to bring into this world. And so when Malcolm heard some things that he, at that spiritual level, did not know how to articulate because he was trying to understand it through his pain and his spiritual immaturity. And I say that with this level because, as the minister articulated, Malcolm understood Islam. He understood that a person could have more than one wife. That is known in Islam.
Exactly.
But what he spiritually didn't understand was how Allah was using the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and using him to resurrect our people through their sunnah or their example. Malcolm didn't understand how his role connected to the life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then at that point, he spoke out of emotions, saying, I don't like what I saw, I don't like what I heard. And that caused him to go into a place where he was vulnerable to the enemies that were around him, FBI agents, the CIA agents, the New York Police Department informants that were whispering into Malcolm's ear, that were taking advantage of his emotional instability and spiritual instability, and they were able to put him in a place that he was temporarily off course. But as you articulated so well, and you shared in that letter, Malcolm rose above that foolishness and was able to have clarity and saw that it was necessary for him to come back unto the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's when the enemies of truth said.
And that's when the plan got expedited, because they said, oh no, we can't have that reconciliation.
No.
You know, one of the things that I'm just drop this in here a little bit along that line. As I listen to you, there are several things that come to mind that I've also heard spoken in the past. That is, one is that comes to me is the relationship between Peter and Christ.
Yes.
And of course, anyone that knows the story about walking on water, that Christ was walking on water and Peter was following him, walking on water. But at some point, Peter lost faith because he was watching Christ, but he didn't know really what Christ was watching.
Yeah.
He didn't know what was ahead of Christ, what Christ was. So therefore, he lost his confidence in himself, and therefore then he fell down.
Yes.
Then I'm also I was listening to a piece again that talked about Abraham.
Yes.
Talked about Moses, talked about Solomon and David, all of whom had multiple wives.
Yes.
But yet that did not take away from their work, because as a matter of fact, there was a part of their work.
Yes.
And again, people not understanding really also, when you have a nation, every nation has its own culture.
Yes.
And the fact that we share in this common land mass does not mean for example, right today, people don't know all the rules that the Chinese community operate by, that deal with their issues, their relationships, things like that. Of this day, people don't know within the Hispanic community the rules that they operate by, the East Indian community, the Hindu community.
Yes.
People don't know. The only thing they can say is that we are the ones, as people of African descent in America, we're the ones that you see in court, the divorce court and all that. Yes. But you don't see the others in the. But now, do you think that they're not having any problems? No, yes, but they're operating by different cultural rules, and they keep that within. And the problem with us many times is that we have identified so much with an assimilationist mentality.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so therefore, it can get our children, it can get Malcolm, and get so therefore we begin to see divine activity through the eyes of colonial experiences.
Yes,
and
sir.
as a result of that, we don't know how to explain Abraham. We don't know how to explain Moses, Solomon, and David. I mean, among in other words, we don't know how to explain, so we just kind of stay away from it. But the fact of the matter is, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Yes. The Nation of Islam today is an international and movement of people that identify as citizens of this nation. That again, it's an institution now, meaning that it is not going anywhere. It's going to ebb and flow, just as some people say America's coming down now. There's been the great days of, in other words, every society have ebb and flow. Nobody talks about the moments. Only they talk about the moments, the ones that have the problems, but they don't talk about the majority of moments who also operate from the same book as it relates to what you need to do in order to preserve and rebuild families as a part of the Mormon nation. So I just want to kind of lay that out as we're talking, because as you were speaking, that's what thought resonated in my mind.
And you're exactly right, Dr. Hud. There's cultures and there are belief systems within every nation, and the Nation of Islam most definitely consider itself a nation within a nation. And you made a very good point. You could go to Chinatown and feel like you're in a totally different country.
You are.
You know what I'm saying? They are unapologetically Asian.
That's
and
right.
Like we should be unapologetically Black. And they don't compromise their culture. Matter of fact, I was teaching some students in literature, and one of the literatures was talking about an Asian girl who wanted to date an American guy, but the mother said to her, out there you might want to be in America, but in here you are in Asia. In this
That's right.
In our culture, and that's the reality. And there's some spiritual immaturity when people don't understand about Abraham having many wives. They said Father Abraham had many sons had favorite Father Abraham. I am one of them, but he had many sons by many wives.
Right.
You don't discredit that. So we don't discredit the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for doing what is scripturally based. And Malcolm came to the realization, how can I condemn my spiritual father for following the scripture?
Yes, that's right.
And when he decided to come home, the enemy said we could not let this come back because they did not want to see the rise of Black people. And we see that whether you see Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, whether you see any other cities where Black folks came together and started to rise, they were destroyed. But when they saw the nation rising, they wanted to destroy it. But as you said, this cannot be destroyed because it's in the conscious and the subconscious minds of millions of people.
Right.
And I've been around the world like you have traveled. And when people find out who I am and they give the greetings, you'll find out that there are people in the Nation of Islam in every walk of life.
That's right. Right.
I don't a butcher, baker, a candlestick maker. They all are part of the nation. I've been in boardrooms of Fortune 500.
That's right.
And somebody will whisper to me in the meeting, Assalamu alaikum, brother. I was in the nation back in such and such. We got friendships in all walks of life.
That's right.
That God put together May no man make assumptions.
That's right. That's right.
So we know that it's intact, and Brother Malcolm will forever be loved by all of us. You cannot love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and not love Malcolm as well, because they are synergetic and symbiotic. And the minister loved Malcolm to this day. That is his spiritual brother.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was his spiritual father. So, you know, for those who are uninitiated and those who are uninformed and those who are still in the matrix and drinking the Kool-Aid,
that's right.
Foreign to those. But those of us who are enlightened,
taking the blue pill, They
taking the blue pill. But we know the truth, and it's incumbent upon us to continue to tell future generations the truth.
Exactly. You know, I'm going to share something today that I haven't really shared other than in conversation with people, because I think it's important. I had to, you know, I've been blessed to personally to have known and to been embraced and mentored by many giants that people read about.
Yes.
One of those people was Adam Clayton Powell.
Yes, sir.
Brother Adam, you know, he was our guest, and he came to visit in Detroit, and we hit it off right away because, you know, again, and of course, I don't know, have you been following and I encourage people to, you know, I mean, it's entertainment, but you know, the Godfather
of Harlem. Yes, sir.
I mean, so that's what so I encourage everybody to watch that. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, and then to have some discussions about it, because, you know, because sometimes people they miss certain things because they don't know, but if you follow it, then you will be able to understand the bigger picture. But Adam Clayton Powell told me, because I asked him the same question. Mm-hmm. I said, what, because, you know, they were very close.
Yes.
Adam Clayton Powell,
yes,
and Malcolm. And he was telling me that what happened, he said, what happened, Dr. Hood, was that all over the years, there were people who, and I'm going to have to say it, within the nationalist community,
mm-hmm,
that were not willing to embrace Malcolm openly, because they really envied the leadership of the Nation of Islam, but yet they were also behind the scene, constantly, you know, talking to Malcolm, getting in his ear and things of that sort. And so when they saw Malcolm, and again, many of them were a part of, because as you know, my understanding that the people who became a part of his security afterwards were actually, you know, part of the NYPD.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, my point what Adam Clayton Powell told me was that there were people who were telling Malcolm, we need you to come out, you know, and to lead the civil rights or the Black Power movement at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And since at that time Malcolm had been sequestered not to speak, and that was for his own protection, so that they wouldn't be able to violate his credibility. But instead, at the same time, they were saying, "Oh, they just jealous of you, Malcolm." So therefore, so they were whispering about, "Come on out of here, and we'll support you." But the fact of the matter is, and all the records show now, that really when Malcolm stepped outside of the boundaries, then he became a target for, you know, because he was beginning to speak, about issues that really was not our issues.
Yes.
In other words, we're not politicians. We are ministerial people. We are people of the books.
Yes.
That we're trying to resurrect the human mind, the human being in this society and in this world. So therefore, what happened was that when Malcolm stepped out, he began to talk more rather than putting our efforts into building our own resources and our farms and our family. Instead, he started talking about civil rights, rather than, and asking people. But again, the fact of the matter is that nobody can give you civil rights.
No,
I mean, in other words, you have to be about the work.
Yes, sir.
You know, in other words, like today, okay, we have rights. But again, if you don't have no education, there's certain things you can't take advantage of.
Absolutely.
So therefore, you have to claim. And so, like today, with all the millionaires and billionaires in the Black community that we have throughout this country.
Yes, sir.
And you know, in Atlanta, Georgia, Metro Atlanta is the most affluent Black community in the world.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I think the other one is the DMV.
Yes, sir.
DC is the other area that around Maryland up there. But my point is this: yet we don't have a chain of grocery stores to our name.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, to me, I mean, so this is where the thing. Well, we're gonna stop to beg and protest. No, we got our own school.
Yes, sir.
Malcolm, stay here. They said, Malcolm, stay here. They got to come to you. You don't go to them.
Absolutely.
Bring them and fill up our schools. Malcolm, we want our own farm. We want to grow our own food. We don't have to go in that restaurant. They build our own restaurant.
Yes, sir.
So my point is that Malcolm wanted to, his love for our people. So he got, many times when you care about somebody, you can have a weakness. There can be a weakness for you.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And so there was that weakness that Malcolm stepped outside of the circle, much like Anwar Sadat did. And that's another story there. But when he stepped outside of the brotherhood circle, then that's what he became vulnerable. So my point is that it's not about trying to really change nobody else, because every society, we used to say in the Black Panther Party, red power for red people, yellow power for yellow people, white power for white people, and black power for black people. No, we want everybody to be empowered.
Yes.
So therefore, but when we start saying, well, you owe us this, okay, I've been around, and you have too, around the reparations movement.
Yes.
But because of my nation background in teachings, I know that we have to have internal reparations first. Look at all the millionaires, rappers, and all that type of thing. Right. Okay, well, they could adopt, every one of them, 2 or 3 of them can adopt a HBCU.
Yes, sir.
I mean, as a movement.
Yes, sir.
Investing in that.
Yes, sir.
Hotel chains.
Yes.
Grocery store chain, a service station chain. I mean, my point is that as the nation did with the fish, put the white and H&G as a household word.
Yes, sir.
So that was the model. So my point is that where are we now?
Yes. We are in a point of great opportunity to have exponential growth because there's disruptors that has happened. Number 47 is used as a disruptor to dismantle some things to force people to do for self or suffer the consequences.
I was just listening the other day, brother, and they were talking about if we have a meeting there, we are approaching income wise in our community here in America, $2 trillion.
Yes, sir.
Now that's more than the gross income of Canada.
Yes, sir.
Mexico.
Yes, sir.
And many other nations that have armies, navies, etc. But the thing about it is that how do you think people feel knowing this and then seeing us begging?
Yes.
I mean, it just don't make sense. I mean, look, let's use what we got.
Yes, sir.
Then people will want to invest in us.
Yes. But
right now, we're talking about putting all the time. I think we need internal reparations.
Yes, sir.
Let's have that discussion.
Yes.
But let's build out. That's another thing. Like Boss Watkins, I followed the brother. I listened to the brother.
Yes.
But I have a little problem with Boss. And my problem is that he identifies himself as an economist.
Mm-hmm.
But I only hear him talking about how to invest in New York Wall Street.
Yes, sir. Teach.
I don't hear him talking about creating our own Wall Street. It can be the Atlanta stock market.
Yes, sir.
I mean, why are we not talking about that discussion? We talking about all the. It troubles me that and I can understand how some people of different races, look at what we do, and we're saying, well, look, Puff and them got all this money, Jay-Z got all this money, but yet, why do we start? We got all these athletes. Why don't we start our own football league? Why don't we? We used to have our own baseball league and football league and basketball league. I mean, I'm trying to say we got all the money. What are we doing? When you go into places, we packing up the auditoriums.
Yes,
but we're not translating that into constructing institutions. So my thing is that I feel some kind of way too. I'm very uncomfortable with some of the demands that Al Sharpton. I know there's a role for that, and other of the civil rights ilk. But I'm saying that I just think that we need to operate off of some umoja.
Yeah, and we want to, and it's going to start with our children and our grandchildren being these change agents. We're going to have to empower them because unfortunately the people that you mentioned that have the wealth have become the new black overseers. Right. They've been made the overseers to keep the masses of black people distracted with only looking at entertainment and sports, but not looking at how we can pull together our unity. How it was a beautiful a spiritual awakening in 1995. You were there, I was there. The Million Man March.
Yes, sir. How many must die before we unify?
Yes, but that was I ain't never seen a Million Asian march.
Right.
You know why? Because they marched to the bank.
That's right.
They marched to their stores.
That's right. That's right.
So we're gonna have to say
they're not begging. They're not begging.
Let's do a million money movement.
Right. Right. And to our credit, when we went there that day, that was the Decremental people. They want to replicate a new march, but really that was the march of all march. The mandate was let's go back and do what we just said here.
Yes.
Then people say, well, what are y'all doing? What are we doing? I mean, what are we? Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah. The mandate had already been given that we should go back. Take matter of fact, every adult, a real man, should be adopting. In the old days, they call them a wife, but a family that has children, and there's no man in that family. Yes. Then we should not. Every single mother that's raising children should have basically a uncle, a surrogate, uncle figure. So therefore, all of us need to reach out and pick a family that has children and be that father figure for them. Now you can call it whatever you want to. You call them mentors. You can call it whatever you want to call it. And back in the day, it ain't had nothing to do with sex. That was being your wife. Yes. You know what I'm saying? In other words, because you are being a husband to her children and providing support and protection to her as a part of our village to build that village and build that tribe.
And see, that's the mindset that we have to get back to, is to understand the importance of family. What does the word family really mean? And it doesn't always mean my biological, as you mentioned, but it means those who I'm going to bring under my protection, and I'm going to transfer my education, wisdom, and experience to. And we're going to have to get back to, you and I do it anyway. We see young men, we see family, we talk to the mothers. Right. And you know, a lot of sisters call me and they know that it's a plutonic situation. They ask me to talk to their sons, discipline their sons. Right. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's time for a hard reset in the Black community.
And that's really what I'm saying on this anniversary here. We need to revisit, and I'm sorry that we're going to call out the Hebrews, the Masons,
yes,
the Muslims,
yes,
the Christians, those that say they don't believe in nothing, we got to call them all out
Yes.
on their betrayal of the ancestral investment
Yes.
in our lives that we live today.
Yes, and you hitting the nail right on the head, Dr. Hud, and you have inspired me to now to even be more vocal for within the family, because our intentions and our efforts have been towards those on the outside.
Right.
But it's time to sweep around our own doorstep.
That's right.
It's time to clean up and call the family together and say it is time for us to do right and stop all of this pontification, stop all of this intellectual masturbation, and it's time for us to start talking about what is the real agenda for our families for the next 25, 50, 75, and 100 years. On the 200th anniversary of Brother Malcolm's birth, we should see a Black America that looks like Wakanda.
That's right. And we got all the resources.
Yes.
I mean, it just befuddles me that people are too don't have enough dignity. Yes. I think it's a dignity to say, hey, look, what one of the things I always been taught, like as a business person, don't ask your employees to do nothing that you wouldn't do yourself.
Absolutely.
So my thing is that why would we ask other people to do for us, and we have our families, and this is a discussion we have to have, but we have our ladies who have children getting on welfare.
Yes.
Where's our community?
Yes.
Funds to help people. But my point is, we're just worried about our own church family.
Yes.
But I was saying sometimes when I grew up, on certain Sundays I went to the AME or the CME church. Yes. On other Sundays I went to the Baptist church.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, we at the end of the day, we knew that that we were comfortable and wherever we went. If we just happened to have grown up in that church, that was just it. That don't mean that we were not going to go somewhere else, and that made a difference. Whether it was AME or CME, it depends on Baptist. It depends on who was there and how we related to each other. That was really the most important thing. By the way, let me just say this: tonight is a special edition, and we're going to go 10 more minutes, and we're going to call it a night. But I'm doing a special edition because I think what we're saying here is so critical. And we do have with me my producer, Julian, and I want Julian to you listen to this and some of the. I mean, what are you, before we get too far? I want to ask Dr. Henry, myself. I mean, like, what is your generation, and you in your 20s, right? Yes, sir. Okay, what given what we're saying. What do you think about this? I mean, how do your generation? Can you have this conversation with your generation? I mean, like, where are we with that?
It's funny, I'm sitting here reading Message to the Black Man.
That part.
But I would say that I think we kind of take for granted kind of what came before. So we might say that we're kind of comfortable, or we might have a sense of entitlement. Just speaking for my generation, me included. Grew up with to where it was less tangible that we had a problem. Back in the day, it was real obvious. Okay, we got slave masters, we got dogs. We had to go to certain water fountains in certain places, so it was obvious that we had a problem.
Right.
I think after the whole situation for us, we thought it became less tangible to see that we still got progress that we have to work towards, and just over time it's kind of completely abstract now. You talk today or with my generation about we got to get free, and they're like, what you talking about?
Right.
We on TV, we got this, we got
right.
that.
I own this corner right here. I sell my drug from this corner right here. I mean that's free. So
the concept of freedom is kind of lost because I know my generation, you know, we might believe that we've arrived somewhere.
yeah, because we got a car. but we spending our money at a gas station that we don't have no clue about owning.
Absolutely. You know, Dr. Hud, he said something that's very interesting in regards to his generation has a sense of entitlement and don't feel the pressure. It reminds me of that story about how they cook a frog, and that if you drop a frog in hot water, it'll jump out. But if you turn the heat up slowly,
right,
you can cook the frog. And what they have done to our generation, this young generation rather, is to turn the heat up slowly where they don't feel that they're being cooked until they're cooked.
Right, it's too late.
And so that's why I said that 47 is a disruptor, because what he's doing for this generation is getting ready to make them feel a little of the tension that our generation felt, and he's going to bust their bubble, and they're going to say, whoa. So there is a wizard behind the curtain.
Right. But you know, brother, I mean, I wonder about that sometimes, because having grown up in a time when we you know, we were poor, but we didn't know it, because we were so rich in relationships.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? These days, people had the notion that I don't need nobody, and I'm just wondering what is it going to take. So another thing about it was that there's a little joke that goes around and says, well, back in our day, people were you in somebody's house, they'll feed you all day.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But they say these days, people will give you liquor all day, get you high all day, but they won't give you no food.
No food.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, you know, and then the entitlement thing is, we did not grow up with the notion that our elders owed us anything. No. We grew up with the notion that we were here to serve the elders. Absolutely. These children these days, they think we owe them something.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I can't understand. That now you are here to pick up, that they want to do their own thing. Our thing was that whatever we could do to make sure that our elders were okay, that's what we want to do. These days, they don't want to do no work. They think we should take care of them, and they should do whatever they want to do. And I'm trying to say that's insanity.
Well, you know, Dr. Hood, I share this a lot, because in the school system, I work a lot with social studies and history as well. In 1984 up to now, there has been a psychological attack on the conscience of our youth to change their philosophies, their belief system, and to disconnect them from our culture. We're going to have to go back and control what they hear, what they see, what they read, and who they associate with. If you look at prior to 1994 and at the beginning of the conscious rap music, we start seeing an increase in Black unity, an increase in the pursuit of education. And then they circumvented that with gangster rap, babble rap, and ratchet rap. And because of that, our young people lost their compass. They lost their center. We're going to have to start financing our own artists like Kendrick Lamar, that is very skillful in dropping knowledge in the minds of the people, that cause them to have aha moments and think critical. We're going to have to start financing our young people to go to college and get into business, and we give them the seed money to start these businesses. We're going to have to start making sure that there are right spiritual leaders who are sitting down in a diverse faith tradition panel and learning the understanding of spirituality and how to articulate it to our people. What I'm simply saying is we're going to have to grow the soldiers that we need to be the paradigm shift change.
And here I'm going to venture, and I'm going to be controversial. Maybe not too many people going to see it, so many people won't be mad at me, but I'm going to have to say it. I say it like this. We are going to have to develop a transformative way to produce better mothers.
Yes.
Because we're losing mothers are not teaching their children.
Yes.
the children are walking around, the little kids, they're angry because the mama is angry.
Yes.
The mother is the first teacher.
Yes.
She's the culture bearer. She's the one that put when we say, you know, in we say this in Sufism, we say the mother provides the love and nurturing for the child, and the father provides the law and order for the child.
Mm-hmm.
But unless we have that love and nurturing, our children don't feel love. That's why they're getting during the gangs. That's why they're going ratchet, because their mothers are not teaching the children. So therefore, boys are being raised first by mothers, because now the problem is, as we get through talking about before, the problem is absent fathers versus toxic mamas.
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes, yes, the fathers are absent because the mamas are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes, how do we, my belief is that if we produce, I'm going back in the days that I knew,
mm-hmm.
that mothers love their children.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not love money and going to the club and getting their nails done
mm-hmm.
and getting their hair done and just leaving their kids with anybody. No, mothers believe in keeping the father in the children's life, whether they were together or not. So we need a evolution. Really, we need a revolutionary evolution
mm-hmm.
for our families. We got to get in our faith institutions going out the doors teaching motherhood and fatherhood to children.
You know, Dr. Hud, I'm glad you brought that up. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he covered that by calling the sisters MGT and GCC.
That's right.
The MGT were for registered sisters,
right?
But the general civilization class.
That's right.
And that's what we need across all faith tradition is the general civilization class. How do you cook? How do you raise children? How do you make sure your child understand etiquette and understand boundaries? How shall they know, though, unless they have a teacher? And how shall they teach unless they be sent? We're going to have to go out and recruit our young ladies and put them in GCC classes. And the doors of the nation is open. And innovative pastors, and I got to give a shout out, regardless of what people think about my brother. I love my brother because he's on the right direction. Dr. Jamal Bryant.
I already knew. I already knew what you were going to say.
He's doing GCC classes.
I know, because he see it like this. The truth is the light.
Yeah.
So therefore, he recognized the value of it, so he modeled it. So therefore, I mean, like, hey, that's what it's supposed to do. Bring that into the church, and that's what we're saying now. Bring your sons. We got to do a program now. Bring your sons to us.
Yes.
Let us teach them how to protect.
Yes.
Their neighborhoods and their community.
Yes.
Not to destroy.
Yes.
See, but the mamas, see right there, they're mamas that talk about many times. That's a young lady I have to pay a piece for you. That she was talking about the error she made. And one error she said that she made was that she thought that she had more knowledge on how to raise a boy to be a man than her child's father did. And she apologized for that because she was in error. She said that she didn't know how to attract the bees with the honey instead of the salt. So, in other words, she said she apologized. She said she destroyed her relationship because she knew how to get him, but she didn't know how to keep him.
Yes,
because
sir.
she didn't know how to talk. Because she didn't. But she didn't know how to. Her mama didn't know how to talk to nobody.
No.
Her mom. She never saw her mama groom a male that had potential to man to groom him to want to step up to be a man.
Yes.
So therefore, what we're saying is that yes, we're gonna get. Right now we're doing legitimation and we're doing a fatherhood program.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in the prison. So we're getting the males ready to come back and be fathers.
Yes, sir.
But the mothers gotta be ready to be mothers so they can co-parent with the fathers, so that these children will grow up loving, the boys can grow up loving their fathers as opposed to hating their fathers.
Yes.
And the girls can grow up loving their fathers. And the boys can grow up loving their mothers.
Yes.
And the brother and the mothers can also love their sons.
Well, Dr. Hud, I am confident in believing that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And I believe you have the ear of the Creator. You have been a faithful servant. I have the ear of the Creator and so many others. And I believe just this conversation right now on social media is going to spread and it's going to create a ripple effect. And that young man sitting over next to you that's digesting one of the most powerful books out there, The Message to the Black Man, he's now going to become a part of this army of change agents. And I am most definitely confident that we're going to see within the next 10 years a revolution of the resurrection of the consciousness of our people. I feel excited about it, man, because I know that we got so much more work to do, and we got so many willing participants out there that's ready to do it. And I'm going out here to make a commitment over these next 8 weeks to recruit 50 young brothers to make them understand their mission for the next 12 months, the next 24 months, the next 60 months, and being a change agent. So I will be following up with you, my dear big brother, and I will see what you can tell me on what I need to do to make sure that I can be found recruiting our soldiers to make a difference for our future.
No doubt about it, brother, because what we're doing is that we are preparing them with an introduction to the sacred teachings of divine masculinity.
Teach now.
And the sacred teaching of the divine femininity.
Divine.
Yes, sir. So that's what we're doing now in the prisons.
Yes.
And that's what we're also doing in our domestic violence classes. We're trying to make sure that until males come to understand that they don't have to find a purpose, they were born with a purpose. They have to claim it. And that females, they don't have to determine what their purpose is, that they have to claim it.
Yes.
And that it is not making money, but it's about making human beings. And that the womb is the place, the first culture.
Yes.
And so in the household is the second culture.
Yes.
And therefore, the mother is responsible for the first and the second culture, and the fathers are responsible for the third culture, which is the community and neighborhoods, and the fourth culture, that is the world. So that is the teaching that's going to be in my next book also, by the way. So we're going to let you know. So again, I want to thank you for this anniversary here. And I pray that you can pass this on to your Facebook community, your YouTube community, that again, and then we'll challenge them to have this type of discussion. And again, I don't know, have you seen Sinners yet?
I love it.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. So
I went to Bogalusa, Louisiana. The train station that they met at is in Bogalusa, Louisiana, and I actually went there to see that scene.
Is that right? So again, I'm willing to even have that discussion before. See, some people say, "Oh, I don't want you to spoil." It won't spoil it for me.
No.
I mean, it don't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I would like for you to, at some point when your time permits, to share that. I mean, hopefully, like I said, I get a chance to see it. But if not, I still would like to hear. I'd like to hear.
It was a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece. It's going to go down as a masterpiece.
I hear people saying it was more powerful than the Black Panther was.
It was. He did so much in regards to history in it, Dr. Hood. You got to see it. I've been on 2 podcasts where we broke down. I even had to explain to them when he talked about the wooden nickel and where did that come from.
Don't take none.
Don't take no wooden nickel. And I explained to them what that meant. Because he mentioned it in the movie, so it's so powerful.
Right. Well, for what since you mentioned, go and explain to our audience what that wooden nickel means.
Well, there was a time to keep Black economics under control. After our people got into sharecropping, they would not give them dollars They only gave them wooden nickels that they could
right.
take to the general store and use.
Right.
So they could not escape. And
Right,
so
right.
when black folks wanted economic development, they
Right.
start using the expression.
Right.
Don't take
There ain't no wood nickel.
That's where that real money.
That's right. Because real money is backed by gold.
It's backed by gold. And that's why don't take a wood nickel.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, anything you like to ask Dr. Henry before we call it tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, again, by the way, I want to also mention to you that we are want to discuss with you. We are forming an elders council.
Yes, sir.
So we'll talk more about that as well. So again, much love to you. Assalamu alaikum. And thank you, brother. And talk to you real soon, my brother.
Thank you, dear brother.
Yes,
Take care.
A lot that might have a few extra tickets, just in case. There might be some scammers out there. Promote Tutashinda Uhuru Sasa Watu Wazuri. Peace, soul, love, with a little sprinkle of power. Good night. One for the book.